see that there's different sizes of mandolins here in the orchestra. So can you talk a little bit about how that all fits in to make the sound?
Well, we brought a couple. This was the original kind of rollback mandolin that Martha was talking about. This actually is from 1890-something. And this was actually kind of hard to play. That was a very fragile and nice-sounding kind of instrument because of the gourd in the back, especially for people that have their own gourd in front. It's kind of hard to play. And so the genius of Orville Gibson, who was the guy that really changed the mandolins, made a mandolin like Martha's, the so-called A-style carved back mandolin. He found a way to carve the bottom and the front so it would have the same projection, but yet it'd be much easier to play and easier to kind of move around. And as Martha said, after that the rest was history, because then all the other parts of the string instrument family were then made by Gibson. So we have things like a mandolas, which we'll be hearing a little later on, looks something like this, the equivalent of the light viola. And we have things like the mandocello, which I was playing before, which you saw, kind of a big daddy.
Can we kind of hear how that sounds?
Yeah.
By itself?
It's kind of a deep kind of sound. And then in the latter half of, I guess, of the 20th century, during the folk boom era, Celtic music was discovered by American folkies, and bouzouki's became also very popular, and octave mandolins. And so we see between the mandocello and the violin, we see things like the octave mandolin, which is basically the same thing as Martha's, but one octave lower. And then finally we have the big daddy of them all. We found this, out in the prairie someplace. We dug it up. The dinosaur mandolin, the biggest mandolin in the world over there, the mando bass.
Well, that's actually in the mandolin family.
It's in the mandolin families, and not very many orchestras have them. There weren't very many made. This is actually not a vintage one. It's a newer one. But there were a few mando basses made, and we'll hear now how one sounds. And I guess our next song.
Okay, great.
And it is typical for mandolin orchestras to also include a guitar. We've seen vintage pictures with accordion players. We have some music with flute parts, so other instruments were included sometimes just to make a whole orchestra.
To round it out and get a full sound.
Yeah. We're going to travel around the world a little bit here for this tune. We've got a Latinized version of a German polka, the Bir Barrelito. So it is kind of that roll out the barrel tune. We also, in looking it up, learned that Barrelito is the name of a very popular brand of beer in El Salvador. So this is Bir Barrelito.
1, 2, 1, 2.